And we have 3 different sports media figures that have released their All-Star ballots, and Angel Reese is nowhere to be seen. She's not involved.
Angel Reese didn't just miss the cut. She didn't even crack the All-Star reserves despite being one of the most talked about players in the league, and despite personally urging her fans to vote. The numbers tell a different story. She landed 13th in fan voting with just over 173,000 votes. That's a far cry from the headlines that once called her the future of the WNBA. Forbes even named her a face of the league, putting her name right next to A.A. Wilson's. So what happened?
And Angel Reese being the face of the WNBA, you would think Angel Reese is leading the league in votes. Not only is the self-proclaimed Barbie not in the lead, Angel Reese isn't even close to making the top 10.
How did one of the most visible, most marketed rookies in years, constantly trending, constantly talked about, fall behind in the one place that actually measures fan support? Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark, in her own polarizing spotlight, pulled in over 600,000 votes, more than triple Reese's. Total, this wasn't just a snub, this was a reality check. And when we take a closer look at the vote breakdown, the media ballots, and how coaches and players weighed in, the truth starts to reveal itself. The hype was loud, but the numbers, they tell a different story.
And we saw from the popularity voting, remember, it wasn't just Caitlin Clark, it was me too. Angel was 13th in the All-Star voting. Well, everything I've been told, she should have been at least second.
Angel Reese was everywhere last year. She was called a rising star, someone who could change the face of women's basketball. Headlines praised her, social media adored her, and the WNBA leaned into the hype. Yet when the All-Star ballots came out this year, Reese's name was sitting at 13th, not just low, buried under players with less buzz and honestly more consistency. For someone once thought to be the league's future, it's a shock. So what happened to all that momentum?
11.3 points and 11.9 boards and a 38.5% shooter at 6'3".
That's right, Reese is averaging 11. 3 points, 11. 9 rebounds and shooting 38. 9% from the field. Her field goal percentage is down from last year's mark, and her rebounding is down over 1 board per game, signaling a decline rather than growth at 6 feet 3 inches, and she's expected to dominate inside, but inconsistent shooting and rebounding dips tell a different story. These numbers don't just look average, they stand out because of the expectations that came with her name.
So it's been very up and down. All of her numbers, she's over 2 points a game behind last year, and basically a little over a rebound a game down, and that's supposed to be her strong suit.
Now compare that to what's happening around her. Caitlin Clark led All-Star fan voting with roughly 516,000 votes, 3 times Reese's 173,363. Clark's impact is obvious. She's putting up big numbers, leading her team, and making highlight plays that translate to wins. Reese's production, on the other hand, hasn't matched the noise. When you see someone with less hype but more consistent results leapfrogging Reese in the voting, it's not hard to see why fans and analysts are rethinking her place in the conversation.
She not only was she not second, she was basically 3 times the amount of votes behind Caitlin Clark.
This is where the All-Star voting system really lays things bare. Fan votes count for 50%, but the other half comes from media and players. These are the people who watch every game, break down the film, and know what makes an All-Star. The fact that Reese was left off all 3 major media ballots says a lot. Meanwhile, A.A. Wilson didn't just show up, she was named unanimously on all 3 media ballots. That's the level of respect real production gets. Reese's stats, especially for someone with her size and spotlight, just haven't made the same impression.
The same Angel Reese who has been begging, and I mean begging, people on social media to vote for her? Angel Reese, number 13 on the list, 173,000 votes.
And some of this comes down to the difference between reputation and reality. Rebuilt a huge following on social media, and the media ran with the idea that she was the next superstar. But in the WNBA, it's not enough to be famous, you have to deliver on the core her. Shooting struggles and rebounding dip make it clear she's not imposing her the way many expected. Every missed shot or quiet night stands out even more when you're supposed to be the face of the league.
Potential reserve, who would it be? Gabby Williams and Brittany Sykes. So Angel Reese couldn't even squeeze into a reserve spot. And now Megan Hall of USA Today, she left Angel Reese off her All-Star ballot.
Fans notice, and so do the players and media. The lack of support from both groups in the All-Star voting isn't just a fluke, it's a sign that the hype machine might have gotten ahead of reality. The media narrative built Reese up, but her actual performance hasn't kept pace. That gap is now impossible to ignore, and it's showing up everywhere from social media threads to the official ballots. So when you see Reese sitting at 13th in the voting, it's not just about a few rough games, it's about expectations that haven't been met. The spotlight is harsh, and when the production doesn't match the promise, the excitement fades fast. The All-Star snub isn't just a one-off, it's a sign that fans and insiders are looking for more than potential. And that's where things get even more interesting, because Reese didn't just wait around for recognition, she went out and asked for it.
And the front court players, Boston, Nafisi Collier, Nika, Satu Sabali, Brianna Stewart, and Asia Wilson. All right. And down here, Boston, Jonquel Jones, Alyssa Thomas. No Angel Reese, folks.
This wasn't about a close contest or a controversial snub. The gap was huge. Reese's direct push for votes only made the result more glaring. The hype didn't translate into action. Fans didn't just stay quiet, they moved on. When a player averaging sub 40% shooting can't break into the top 10, what does that say about her hype? The numbers forced everyone to reconsider what they thought they knew.
This probably means she will not be a starter in the All-Star game, which would make sense because Angel Reese shouldn't be a starter for a regular season game.
The scrutiny didn't end with the fans. The media, many of whom had spent months hyping Angel Reese, didn't step in to save her spot either. Even Megan Hall from USA Today, who had previously praised Reese's impact on the league, left her off her All-Star ballot entirely. And it's not just Reese. Paige Bueckers, often called the closest thing to Caitlin Clark in terms of hype and potential, didn't even crack the top 5. The message is clear: reputation alone isn't enough, not with this level of competition, and not when the votes are public.
Bueckers is number 6, which I thought was rather surprising. 3 months ago, Paige Bueckers was the only star in women's basketball not named Caitlin Clark. She entered the WNBA dump with a massive amount of mainstream notoriety, but as soon as she put on the hard hat, as soon as she was sized for the steel-toed boots, the second she took off the UConn jersey and exchanged it for the Dallas Wankers, Paige Bueckers seems to have disappeared.
This is where the perception of Angel Reese really started to unravel. The media narrative made her seem unstoppable, but the votes showed something else. Social media influencers and constant coverage might have suggested she was everywhere, but when it came time to show up, the support wasn't there. The hype looked big from the outside, but it just didn't run deep enough to push her into the all-star spotlight.
The mainstream media has been trying to convince us that Angel Reese is a huge star. Some in the media even do investigative journalism and claim that Angel Reese is the face of the WNBA because she leads the league in followers on social media, along with missed layups and a complete lack of athleticism.
Clark, on the other hand, didn't need to campaign as loudly. Her play did the talking, and the fans responded in droves. Reese's campaign, instead of building momentum, exposed the limits of her appeal. The gap between the story being sold and the reality on the court was out in the open. Even some media outlets that once pushed Ree as a superstar started to pull back quietly, shifting their focus elsewhere. So now the question is out there for everyone: how did Angel Ree go from media darling to being overlooked by the very people who once championed her? The answer isn't just about stats or social media, it's about what happens when the narrative starts to crumble, and the votes don't lie.
Now, we know the media jumped through hoops, gymnastics, mental gymnastics. I mean, however you try to put it, they tried to raise up Angel Reese last year as being, of course, she's running neck and neck with Caitlin Clark for the Rookie of the Year. except that wasn't accurate at all.
When you look at how Angel Reese went from headline maker to afterthought, you have to talk about the media's role. For months, outlets like Forbes called her one of the faces of the WNBA, right alongside AA. Wilson Ree herself fed into this, saying, "The reason people watch women's basketball isn't just for one person, it's because of me too." The coverage was everywhere. She dominated social media conversation. Her name trended with every highlight, and she was featured in national stories and league promos. The spotlight was bright, and the expectations were huge. But as soon as the All-Star voting numbers hit, the volume of that coverage dropped off fast. The same outlets that had hyped her up started to go quiet. What changed? The numbers didn't just fall short, they told a story the media couldn't spin. Ree averaged 11. 3 points per game, shot under 40% from the field, and finished with 173,363 fan votes, landing her in 13th.
Still don't understand how she could be that tall and shoot that terrible from the field. I really don't understand.
That's not the profile of someone leading the league or changing the game. Even more telling, both the Sports Illustrated and USA Today All-Star ballots left her off entirely. That's a huge shift from the narrative that had her as a can't-miss superstar.
People are catching on, folks. People are catching on. Her fans can't defend the play anymore. And I guess members of the media are starting to give up.
All that media buildup crashed against one cold reality. Her All-Star ballots told a different story. The hype only works if the play backs it up. When fans, media, and players all pass over you, it forces everyone to rethink what was being sold. The media wanted her to be the next big thing, but the performance just didn't match the image. Suddenly, the storylines and magazine features fell out of step with what was happening on the court. The disconnect was obvious. You can talk about star power all day, but if the production doesn't follow, people notice, and they move on.
It was our understanding, from what we understood, she was going to be among the players, right? That's what the media has been trying to tell us, except the media is finally telling you. This is 3 members of the media, 2 from SI, 1 from USA Today, and they are saying she is not among the starters, in their opinion, in the WNBA All-Star game. They're not on these ballots.
It's not just about Reese. Either the way the media shifted gears shows how quickly the spotlight can fade. 1 minute you're the headline, the next you're an afterthought. The league's insiders, the coaches, and players made their opinions clear by leaving her off their ballots. Fans saw that, and the message was loud. Hype isn't enough. The voting process didn't just expose a gap in performance, it exposed a gap in credibility for the media too. The question became, were they pushing a story, or were they reflecting what was really happening?
Remember, they may put Angel Reese on their backs and try to carry her across the finish line, for crying out loud. But my goodness, what a difference. What a difference in the media from this time last year. People are finally catching on. Basketball fans, actual basketball fans that know anything about basketball, they've caught on. There's no doubt about it.
Now there's a new kind of pressure. The silence from the media isn't just a lull, it's a warning. These same outlets that build up her image could just as quickly move on to the next big name if the numbers don't improve. For Angel Reese, this is the moment that decides what comes next. Does she use this as motivation to raise her game, or does she fade from the conversation altogether? Let's hear what you think. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Will Ree bounce back, or is the WNBA moving on?
Actual basketball fans that know anything about basketball, they've caught on. There's no doubt about it.
The hype around Angel Reese shows that media buzz, no matter how loud, from places like Forbes, SI, or USA Today, can't guarantee all-star status without matching performance on the court. Her all-star snub makes it clear the league, the fans, and even the media want results. Not just headlines. Was Ree overrated, or will she prove the doubters wrong? If you think Ree can rebound, hit like. If you think the ballots got it right, let us know in the comments, and subscribe for more WNBA breakdowns.